Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Lynn Wood. I'm the coordinator, the current coordinator of the Leadership Greater Madison program, and we're just really very pleased that you are here to join us for this conversation. I'm guessing that when all of you got the email and you saw 20 years, you all was like, no way, right? So this is the reality as you look around the table. Pretty impressive group, and obviously you all come representing a large group, so we're looking forward to the discussion today. And I think it's a really good omen. As I was waiting for the train over on John Nolan, on the radio came "I Will Survive" by Gloria Gaynor, which happens to be the theme song for my LGM 12 Teen Project Bonnie video. Is that a good omen? Okay, I want to just introduce real quickly before we all go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Todd Fortune, who's the current president of the Leadership Greater Madison Alumni Association. I will introduce the council members who are here.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time and the thoughts you're going to give us. Thank you, Lynn, for setting this up. This is a great opportunity for us to hear from you. As Lynn said, it is the 20th year, believe it or not. I was just talking to Ann, and she said, okay, I'm LGM8, and where are we? And I said, well, this is the 20th year, so this is kind of a big deal for us. And we, again, appreciate you all coming together, and hopefully you see some familiar faces and enjoy the opportunity to re-engage with LGM a little bit. So we have members from our council. Sarah, who's actually our hostess today.
I'll just tell you guys quick, I'm LGM 14, and
okay.
I'll tell you the housekeeping, which is bathrooms. They're right past the receptionist there, so if you need a restroom, that's right there.
Okay.
Does Sarah have a last name?
Zylstra, LGM 14.
Okay. Bill, yeah, why don't you guys?
Good morning, Bill Morgan, LGM 17.
Good morning, I'm Kim Burledge, I am LGM 14.
Good morning, Hillary Cleese, LGM 18.
Diane Morgenthaler, LGM 10.
Okay, well, a couple of goals for today, as you saw in the materials, just so that we're all clear as we start. We really want a chance to kind of conjure up in your own memories and your own minds and experiences the great time that you've had in LGM and to share that. So one of the things is just to bring it top of mind, again, if it hasn't been top of mind for a while. The second thing really is to figure out, how is LGM placed? How are we seen in the community? How are, when someone's looking for recruitment for a leader in the community, do they think LGM, there's a list of 652 people available. Is that a resource that comes top of mind, do you think? Do you see that happening in your own worlds? And if not, what might we do to do that? And then the third is just how do we make sure that our network remains healthy, and what kinds of things resonate for you in terms of activities that the Alumni Association can coordinate, or different opportunities, different learning engagements. If you want to kind of repeat some of your LGM experiences, what are some of those things that you'd like to see? So that's kind of our threefold set of goals. I do have one section where I thought, in true LGM fashion, we'll break into small groups, have a little discussion, and then a report out. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Steve Goldberg, LGM 11, will be kind of helping to tag team on the co-hosting, so he'll keep us in line a little bit and hopefully interject some questions or thoughts as we're going through it, in addition to representing. So I just want to go around the table, if you would. Tell us. We're gonna associate ourselves, at least for this round. We'll have one more go around the table where you can tell us about kinds of things that you have done, your affiliation professionally, etc. But this go around, I'd like you just to identify your year, which we'll be able to tell, and then a significant memory from your personal LGM experience. One memory, and I know that will be difficult, so the rest of you have a better chance of starting to think of it and narrow down. I'll start over here with Dora.
Dora Suniga, LGM 1. And so the significant memory that I keep being reminded by LGM 1ers is the climbing up. At the time we did an outward bound thing. I had just had a baby, 6 months before that, climbing up the darn wall, and I've never been super physically fit, so I remember that very clearly, like it was just yesterday.
That's good. I'm Ann Katz, I'm LGM 1 also. I was going to reference the stepping off the platform into the abyss aspect of that outdoor training, which, given my profound fear of heights, was really bad. But I did it. And since, I just will say that since LGM 1, I've done 2 other leadership programs. Obviously, I like leadership programs. And I've had that kind of stepping off into the abyss experience in both of those, now that I think about it. So I associate the leadership training with stepping into the abyss and surviving, I guess, or something.
Oscar Morales, LGM 2. You know, these 2 wonderful ladies, so they experimented with LGM 1 and they figured it out. Guinea pigs, and they figured it out with LGM 2. So we were the best class. Probably my experience was, I also was in a group called Future Milwaukee, and I was, so I thought, they thought I might have needed retraining. But my most memorable experience was as we got near the end, and Neil Heinen did a video, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but it was an experience where I sort of didn't want it to end, and I talked to a couple people that I had met in LGM, Tom Osmond and Liz Stathis, and I have a funny feeling that my idea, we should get together and bring people together, is a part of why we're here today.
Cindy Rogerson, LGM 4. Cindy Rogerson, LGM 4. Ken Syke was still involved at our year. I'm not sure how far down the line Ken was. And I really thought what he was telling us about with Leadership Greater Madison sounded like something I wanted to do. And at the time I was president of Junior League, and we voted to, as a board, to have somebody from the league and upcoming president go to Leadership Greater Madison every year, just so they would know a little bit more about the community of Madison and volunteer opportunities. And so actually when I came in as 4, I was then off as president, so I just came in as myself because I believed in it. I just thought it was great for Madison and wanted to experience it. My memory also is the crazy overnight that we had with all the challenges, stepping off the board and everything. So it was a great experience.
Lily G, class 6. If you had asked our nightmare, I would say the challenge course, so I won't mention that. I think the thing that has stuck with me over the years is when we were going through one of the sessions, and they mentioned that when they're looking at deciding whether or not to build new prisons, they look at 3rd grade reading levels. That has stuck with me over the past 14 years. And I think one reason was because the problem isn't always the problem, or the solution isn't always obvious. And that kind of stuck with me in my work in community service, to really look at, you may think one thing is a solution, but it's really something else.
I'm Ann Lucky with LGM 8, and I think many of us also have a vivid memory of touring the Dane County Jail, which was, you know, a rare opportunity, and that was one of the things I valued about LGM was the chance to hear from experts and to go behind the scenes into various institutions within the community, and that left quite an impact.
So I was with Ann, and I think another memorable piece for LGM 8 was that there were a lot of women who were having babies at the time. So that's something that, as LGM 8ers, we all talk about, was the number of men who were expecting or the women who were expecting in that class. I'd say the other thing is, for me, what's lasting is the relationships from the group that I got partnered up with, and the fact that every time we see each other, we always go back to that moment, and we've built upon it over the years. I think professionally, what's been really memorable is having the opportunity to learn about all the different not all, but a lot about Madison and Dane County and what the key issues are. And I think that's really stuck with me, being a transplant and not from here, having an opportunity to understand what were this community's issues. And I think that was kind of a building block for me. And I forgot to say I'm Annette Miller. Sorry.
And I'm another Annette. I'm Annette Knapstein. And I'm LGM 9. And I was shocked that we're on LGM 20. And I'm another Annette. I'm Annette Knapstein. And I'm LGM 9. And I was shocked that we're on LGM 20. Oh my gosh, all this time going fast. And my memory actually kind of started right before I got into LGM. And that was when I got a call. I was at American Family from our CEO, and he wanted me to consider being an LGM. And my response to him was, well, let me check into what that required, what kind of time that would require, get back to you and see if I have time for it, because it sounds like it's a big commitment. And of course, my first priority is serving American family in my role. And he came back and said, this is actually not negotiable. And so instead of thinking, can I do it, I was trying to figure out how I would do it. And it turns out to be a very tremendously rich experience for many of my business contacts and then good friends now and people who I met at LGM. Kind of a lesson that sometimes people know better when it's good for you than you know for yourself.
Good morning, I'm Beth Zerbakken, and sorry Oscar, but Diane and I were in the perfect class 10. Right? So, and many memories, but I do have to go back to the day we were climbing, and not, I mean, I know you all did it, that did it, you just can put yourself back there, but we were the first to climb the wall, and we did it. Don't know how we did it. I know we did it as people together. Here's a hole, here's a hole, keep climbing. It was hotter than the devil that day. Afterwards, and maybe that's what they tell everybody, is that you are the first group that actually climbed the wall, and you set the bar high, and every one of our groups climbed the wall. No one went halfway or 3/4. And you know, that stuck with me, whether or not that was truthful that we were the first to do it. But you know, when you see people just like you know, struggling, but getting there, you motivate the others to try and accomplish as well. So I think that was like a huge takeaway from that wonderful day.
Steve Goldberg, LGM 11. I think my most vivid memory of the program was during the overnight being told by my roommate that I snored. My takeaway is that as a lifelong Madisonian, I went into LGM thinking I knew everything there was to know about Madison. I really thought I couldn't possibly learn anything new, and I was quite wrong about that. So much new to learn, and there's still a lot to learn about Madison, so that has helped me a lot in my job.
Peter Tan, LGM 12.
Woo woo! The best class. Okay, sorry.
And I think my fear of heights was cured forever.
I wish I could say that about women.
Interestingly enough, I think the one biggest thing was that overnight, you have to remember that telephone pole you have to climb.
Yes.
And you get to the top of it, and they say you've got to stand on top, right on top of that thing. And I remember right at the top, and I had to make that final push to kind of get up on there, and I kept saying, no, I can't do it. It's like, and I realized as the longer I waited, the more tired I got.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful metaphor for life. That is, there is a timing to things. You cannot wait too long sometimes, because if you wait too long, then it actually gets worse. So you just have to kind of, at some point, you have to just kind of bite the bullet and go for it. And I did it, and it just, when I stood up there, and it was like being on the top of the world. It's just an amazing feeling. And just like Steve, I mean, it was an amazing experience of just being able to get a really good picture of our whole community. That day at the middle school, I just remember learning that, you know, there are no easy answers. there's the budget, and there's always not enough money, and yet each year comes by and you always make it somehow. But it was just this deep understanding I never acquired before, in terms of just what our community is, what the needs are, kind of thing.
I'm Brennan Nardi, LGM 13, and a big takeaway for me was when Kathleen Falk was one of our speakers, and at that time in conversation, she was working on something called a Dane, and it was all about land use and conservation, and she was very involved with the lakes as well, and cleaning up the lakes. And I asked her the question at one point, so what is going to happen to these big programs and projects, when you're gone, when you're not county executive anymore? And she just looked at me and she said, well, that's up to you all. And at the time, it annoyed me. I thought, what? I'm not a politician. I'm not in charge. I'm a journalist. We just write down what other people say and, tell the world. Now these many years later, I'm on the board of the Clean Lakes Alliance, and, part of the magazine's mission is to affect positive change in the community. And looking back now, I realized that moments like those kind of pushed me beyond my role as an editor and a journalist to really not just share others' experiences, but have my own, so that I can contribute to community in ways that affect positive change.
Hi, I'm Shiva Vidarsila, LGM 14, and there's 3 of us in the room, so I can
So my most memorable experience was actually right at the beginning of LGM 14. It was when we voted with our people to be part of different teams to do our projects. And suddenly 2 of us, Brenda Gonzalez and myself, found ourselves alone in the middle of the room. Nobody wanted to be in and I remember both of us really being very stressed out about the fact that we were the 2 that were left out, and how that felt. And then fast forward, the relationships and the things that we were able to learn through that experience together as a group. Because I think that for the group it was, for all of us, it was a big learning experience, and how that felt to us. We were able to really work through that and talk a lot about it. So we really bonded with it, that's the thing, because we went through a difficult time.
Jennifer Hannon from LGM 15. I guess my most memorable experience is somewhat general in that I'm an attorney and we don't really work as teams very well. and even in law school, I know in business school you work as teams all the time. Law school you don't. It's all individual. Everybody's fighting for their lives. And it forced you to work as a team and realize the benefits of working with a team. Who can support your weaknesses, what strengths you can bring, and figuring out how to balance all of that over several different topics, people who have very different views or experiences on things, and it was very collaborative. So that was my first positive team experience, not just with my team in our project, but also in all the breakout sessions that we had throughout the course of the class.
My name is Tammy Rosick with LGM 16, and not only was memorable the relationships and connections that were made, but also our group and project was on education. And it was pretty rewarding at the end that we were able to get a card and some netbooks for a school with our very small part of helping education, but we felt we made a difference.
Sterling Lake also was 16. I think my most sort of vivid memory of that experience was, Tam can attest this, there was 2 or 3 months there where we were really sort of, I don't know, we didn't really have it together. We weren't figuring out what we're going to do. We're going to go do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And we kept, something kept changing our mind. And finally we sort of got together and sort of figured out what it was and how that feels. I'm still sort of feeling the tingle of that. And we said, oh, that's what we're going to do. And it still changed after that, but we at least had a very clear mission of what we're trying to accomplish. And that was really powerful. The other piece that's sort of memorable for me has sort of been ongoing. Lynn gave us these nifty LGM fleeces, and it's the most comfortable fleece I have. So I wear it all the time, and people are all like, LGM, what class are you in?
We didn't get fleeces.
Well, we didn't get the road course.
Yeah, we didn't jump.
We didn't get the road course.
Yeah, we didn't get the road course.
Okay.
Never mind.
So we're weird over this. From this way over, we're straight.
I'm David Haug with LGM 17. One of my favorite highlights of our class was actually going into the Capitol during some of the heat of the politics in the state. And, you know, it's leadership Greater Madison, and there's really no better symbol of leadership than the Capitol. And so often we drive by and see it and we look at it, but we don't really go inside and watch what's actually happening there. All of the very tough decisions are being made across the board. It reminds you that we all need to step up and look for leadership opportunities ourselves and stand for things and have principles and encourage others to follow us and be a part of the community and make a difference.
My name is Karen Ball, and I was in Leadership Greater Madison 18. And at the time, I was working for Operation Fresh Start, and our group project was about workforce development. And I have to say that the story that I still tell today was one of our young people was sitting on a panel and made the comment, basically she said, you know, if you hire me and give me a chance, I'll be very loyal to you. And it was one of those breakthrough moments where I'm like, yeah, like that was such a real thing to say, and it's kind of resonated with me of why we should give people opportunities and entry-level employment. She just said it so eloquently in about 10 seconds, but that's really stood with me.
My name is Jenna Weber. I was LGM 19, and I would say the most memorable part of our class was when we had the opportunity to tour a Madison middle school and high school and spend the day there and hear from different teachers and program organizers and liaison officers, and it really just opened my eyes to the fact that a lot of the problems are much deeper than they seem on the surface, kind of like you mentioned. And I definitely had a much greater respect now for teachers and all the work that they put in with all the different things going on in our school system.
I'm Matt Craney. I'm currently in LGM 20. I apologize if my answer isn't very good. I was so consumed by the fear of going up a wall and jumping off things that I didn't really hear. But now that maybe stopped, so that's okay. My abiding memory from the program so far has been a trip to the very top of the Capitol building. One, because I realized I actually didn't have a fear of heights, I had a fear of wobbly staircases, which is, it was classified that's a good thing. But two, being able to see the city from a place that not very many people get to see it was a really unique and a huge privilege for me. But it's also a privilege that weighs heavy because we're seeing a side of our city that a lot of people don't get to see. And so what are we going to do with that? And I think a lot of people have talked about that as they've gone around the table, but that has really stuck with me already, and I'm sure there'll be lots more.